I'm Gretchen Rubin, and I'm a writer and podcaster who writes about happiness, good habits, and human nature. Catastrophizing is when you imagine the future and you sort of imagine the worst possible outcome. Well, there's a lot of really bad outcomes that a person could generate. And just to make it easier for you, there's a whole, flood of movies and books that have explored all kinds of terrible outcomes for mankind. So first of all, don't read or watch those things. Don't feed your imagination. Limit your exposure to the news, especially sort of like sad anecdotal news, which is not news. It's just stories that are upsetting and maybe draining and overwhelming for you. And really to think about, I don't know what the world is going to look like in 2 weeks. So let me just stay very focused on what I can do right now, and then I'll deal with the future when it comes. Well, one thing for people to remember is that they can control certain things, and then there are other things that they can't control. So you can spend a lot of time cleaning the surfaces in your house, but you do not need to worry about what's going on with the police department, because you have no influence on the police department and what they're doing and whether they're following what you think are the correct protocols, etc., because that's not within your control. To think about, okay, who would I ordinarily see? What would I ordinarily enjoy? And can I reinterpret it? So for instance, my husband meets a couple of friends for drinks every month or so. And so they set up a Zoom meeting, and he had like his bottle of whiskey and he poured himself a glass, and they all sat and talked just as they would in real life. But it was a group of people that he was already used to making those kinds of plans with. So it felt very natural to be like, hey, usually we would be getting together around now. Why don't we take it onto Zoom? And also, it's funny because everybody wants to connect. And somebody said to me, like, I haven't spoken to so many people on the phone, in the last 5 years as I have in the last 2 weeks. And in a way, that's wonderful, and it's great to feel connected. I think it makes everybody feel safer just to connect and just touch base with people. One thing the research shows is that when people keep a record, when they keep a journal, when they are writing down what they're experiencing, it's easier to find meaning. We tend to kind of shape our experience as we record it. There's a lot of ways that to keep journals or records. You could take a photograph every day of just like sort of one thing. You could keep a list of all the funny things a member of your family or one of your colleagues said. You could take a picture of every meal and write a little thing about what was happening that day. There's a lot of ways that you could, writing just one sentence. I've made a one sentence journal, because a lot of times just writing one sentence is enough to really bring back an experience. And it is often really satisfying later to go back. It helps you process it at the time, and then it helps you reflect back on it in the future. Well, technology right now is just a lifeline. It's so important in work, in relationships, and just daily life. We rely on it so much, but every medicine can become poison. It can kind of drain and overwhelm us. And I've spoken to many people who have started pulling back specifically on news. So maybe they're not going to check the news before noon, or they're going to check the news in the morning or the evening, but they're not going to do the 3-hour scroll or check in every half hour, because it becomes just very distracting and draining.